Please be seated. So good afternoon. Good afternoon. We're going to make some new physicians today. I'm Dr. Mark Kahn. I'm the Dean and Senior Vice President for Health Affairs at the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine at UNLV. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome you to our inaugural graduation for the commencement of the 2021 graduates who will soon be awarded the degree Doctor of Medicine. We're assembled to recognize and honor the members of the graduating class of 2021, again, the first class to graduate from the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine at UNLV. Yes! So I'm reminded of a story, and I like to tell stories. And when I was a first-year medical student, I was told a story that I've never forgotten by the late chairman of medicine, Dr. Francis Wood. Dr. Atkinson may know Dr. Wood, and he told this story, and I'd like to tell it to you. So it's winter break, and a medical student has finished his studies, and his girlfriend has to go home, and she has a cat, and she's very worried because she has to take the cat on the train, and she's not sure how the cat's going to behave, so she tells her medical student boyfriend, look, I have this problem. So this was the old days, so he went to the library, and he found a textbook, and looked up the dose of morphine, a sedative, and he was able to go to the pharmacy in those days and get the dose, and he gave it to his girlfriend before she left for winter break and said, you know, this is how you give it to your cat, and it's going to sedate your cat. Well, later that day, he finds himself at one of the local watering holes, and he's with a bunch of other people who had finished their first semester, including some vet students, and he says to the vet students, you know, veterinary medicine's easy. This is my girlfriend's cat's problem, and I looked it up, and I mixed it, and I gave it to her, and the veterinary students are just laughing hysterically. And the reason they're laughing hysterically is it seems that when cats get morphine, they develop a paradoxical response, and instead of getting quiet, they go crazy. So the medical student goes home for the winter break, and when he comes back and sees his girlfriend, he says, you know, rather sheepishly, how are things? She said, it was horrible. The cat screamed, it hissed, it bothered the people next to me. I almost got kicked off the train. But then she said, but you know what? If it weren't for you and your advice, I know things would have been worse. That story was told to me, and I think it tells a couple important things. We have a group of people who are about to become the inaugural doctors from UNLV. I want you to recognize that being a physician is a great privilege. It carries responsibility. People are going to listen to what you say. I want you, as you move forward, to always be true to yourself. I want you to be true to your communities, and I want you to be true to your profession. That's my word for you. I'd now like to briefly mention the generous donors who allowed us to name our school for the late Mr. Kirk Kerkorian, a philanthropist and business leader. I'd like to recognize the folks from NHBC. If you're in the room, if you could just stand so we could recognize you. Thank you very much. I'd now like everyone to rise for the national anthem sung by Gary Fowler and accompanied by the UNLV Jazz Ensemble.
Who's
Mr. Fowler, that is a tough act to follow. We can all be seated. I'd now like to acknowledge my colleagues and special guests, friends seated on stage. I ask each of them to raise their hands as their names are called, but let's hold all of our applause until everyone's been introduced. To my right is Dr. Keith Whitfield, President of UNLV. Next is Dr. Mark DeBrava, Chair, Board of Regents, Nevada System of Higher Education. Next to him is Dr. Neil Haycox, Vice Dean for Academic Affairs and today's Grand Marshal. To my left, Dr. Barbara Atkinson, Dean Emeritus, Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine at UNLV. Dr. Marta Miena, former Acting President of UNLV. Dr. Melody Rose, Chancellor, Nevada System of Higher Education. And Dr. Samuel Parrish, former Senior Associate Dean for Student Affairs and Admissions. Dr. Parrish at the end will give some words of wisdom. In the second row, we have Dr. Gary Shen, Assistant Dean, Clinical Education. Dr. Michael Gardner, Vice Dean for Clinical Affairs and Strategy. Dr. Chris Heavey, UNLV Executive Vice President and Provost. Dr. Johan Bester, Interim Assistant Dean for Biomedical Science Education, and Dr. Bester will lead the class in the Physician's Oath. And finally, Dr. Robert Hernandez, Associate Dean for Student Affairs and Admissions. Could we please have a round of applause? For the next set of introductions, I'd like to recognize member of the Board of Regents from the Nevada System of Higher Education who are in attendance today. I'll have you stand when I call your name. Regent Carol DiCarlo, Vice Chair of the Board of Regents. Regents Joseph Ariscata, Regent Patrick Boylan, Regent Amy Carvalho, Regent Byron Brooks, and we already introduced the Chair of the Board of Regents, Regent Mark DeBrava. Let's have a round of applause for our regents. Starting a medical school really takes a village, and we couldn't have done this without the generous support of many of our friends. I'd now like to recognize our generous donors who've supported the university, the School of Medicine, and each member of our charter class who were able to attend medical school without tuition. Any donors in the audience, please stand and let's recognize our donors. Thank you. It's with heartfelt thanks that I appreciate all that you've done. I'd now like to recognize representatives from, and they can stand, Senator Jackie Rosen's office, Congressman Susie Lee's office, and Congressman Stephen Horsford. An academic health center requires a teaching hospital. Our primary teaching hospital is UMC. We also use the VA, we use Nellis Air Force Base, and we use Sunrise Hospital. I'd like to recognize someone who's I've gotten to know very well over the past year, someone who I call a friend, the CEO of UMC, Mason Van Halling, Carissa Ray, the Chief Academic and External Affairs Officer, and Mr. John O'Reilly, the Chairman of the Board at UMC. I'd also like to recognize leaders from the other hospitals who could not be in attendance today. For the next set of introductions, I'd like to ask these groups, for the next set of introductions, I would like to ask these folks to stand. Dr. Mark Guadagnoli, Associate Dean for Faculty Affairs and today's Faculty Marshal. Ms. Ann Diggins, Director of Student Affairs and Career Services. She was selected by the graduates to serve as today's Student Marshal. Mr. Toyokazu Chris Endo, President of the graduating class, who will give the student address today. All the Hooders who have been invited by the graduates to participate in the hooding ceremony, all the department chairs of the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine at UNLV, all the associate and assistant deans of the School of Medicine, and finally the faculty of the School of Medicine. Thank all of you for each and everything that you do each and every day. It is with pleasure that I now introduce the Chancellor of the Nevada System of Higher Education, Dr. Melody Rose, to say a few words. Dr. Rose.
Dean Kahn, Chairman DeBrava, President Whitfield, Provost TV, Dean Kahn, honored guests, esteemed faculty, friends, and most importantly, the first graduating class of the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine at UNLV. On behalf of the Nevada System of Higher Education, I would like to offer my most heartfelt congratulations for your remarkable achievement. You have succeeded over the grueling curriculum of UNLV's medical school, the rigorous routine of clinicals, and the countless hours of lost sleep. And if that wasn't enough, you have endured this past year's worldwide pandemic, and yet here you are graduating. May I be so bold as to say, I think truly nothing can stop you. The importance of your graduation today to our community, our city, state, and nation simply cannot be understated. As we know, Nevada has been ranked as having the lowest number of active physicians and active primary care physicians per 100,000 residents. And today, the Silver State and our community needs you, the graduating class of 2021, more than ever before to turn that tide. In short, our state needs you to be the next generation of medical leaders who will help Nevada, not only in times of crisis such as the pandemic, but to improve the everyday lives and health of our citizens. Today, you have made your teachers, your friends, and everyone in this room proud. Following your residency, I hope you will make our state and university proud by practicing medicine here in Nevada. Finally, I would ask not to forget to take time to thank all of the people in your world who got you here today. Each of us stands on the shoulders of giants, whoever those giants are for you, whether they're your parents, a generous donor, your professor, advisor. Tell them thank you. You'll never, ever regret saying thank you. And thank you for making us so proud today. Dean Kahn.
Thank you, Chancellor Rose. It's now my honor and privilege to welcome to the podium the president of UNLV, Dr. Keith Whitfield. Dr. Whitfield took over leadership of UNLV in August of 2020. Prior to becoming president of the university, Dr. Whitfield served as a provost, senior vice president of academic affairs, and professor of psychology at Wayne State University in Michigan. Dr. Whitfield has been an active researcher with an impressive career, authoring or co-authoring over 200 publications and earning nearly $20 million in funding from the National Institutes of Health, National Institute of Aging, and the National Science Foundation. Dr. Whitfield earned his bachelor's degree in psychology from the College of Santa Fe, his PhD from Texas Tech, and completed postdoctoral training in quantitative genetics at the University of Colorado Boulder. Please join me in welcoming our president, Dr. Keith Whitfield.
Well, good afternoon. You guys got to get used to this. Good afternoon. We're actually going to be in person soon, more than we are even today. So we have to get used to those niceties that we're used to doing. You know, this is a great day for the university, but not only for the university, for Las Vegas and for the state of Nevada. Today we celebrate the first commencement for the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine at UNLV. This is a milestone that's been reached through hard work, determination, and passion for making the lives of people better. This has been a team effort and demonstrates the power of collaboration and commitment. I shared with you last night, with some of you, that I got to meet the first graduate of UNLV. And I thought that it was such an incredible moment, and I thought about what life must have been like for him but he didn't have any pictures. And so I thought, you know, as a smart president, that I'd make sure that I memorialize this moment by taking a selfie with you guys. There we go. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I joined Dean Kahn in acknowledging our Nevada system of higher education regents, some of whom are joining us here today. Their job is difficult, they make hard decisions, and they make us better as a system. Their leadership and support of UNLV and for the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine at UNLV has been critical in making this day a reality. I also want to thank the governor, state legislators, and local officials whose support has been essential for getting to this day. I stand here before you as the 11th president of UNLV, but I stand on the shoulders of giants who were committed to UNLV as past presidents of UNLV. They built the foundation for the creation of the medical school and continued progress. We are joined here today by one of those leaders, former President Dr. Marta Miana. Dr. Miana's leadership, support, and commitment to the School of Medicine was unwavering during her time at the helm of UNLV. Dr. Miana, I thank you, and on behalf of the school and students, I thank you. When we formally launched the medical school in August 2014, NC regents, state leaders, university officials, and local business leaders were keenly aware of the critical need for more physicians. They knew the positive impact a medical school at UNLV would have on Southern Nevada. We had no idea of how much until this past year proved it to be true. Our students and our graduates are more critical now than ever before. The work done during COVID-19 pandemic demonstrates why the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine at UNLV is so important. You have made a tangible, significant impact throughout this pandemic. You hosted one of the first COVID-19 test sites and operated one of the best vaccination centers in the state with over 130,000 vaccinations. You and your colleagues have been on the front line fighting the pandemic, providing vital health care across our community. Thank you for your courage and your commitment during a very trying time. As important as today is for UNLV and our march towards building a true academic health center in Las Vegas, today is really a celebration of what I know has involved hard work, resiliency, dedication from each one of you. It's also a testament to the support and sacrifices made by those who love you. To the faculty who are deeply committed to your success, to the incredibly generous donors in our community who made it possible that you graduate and enter your residency without tuition debt. I had the honor of joining your class on match day in March when you learned where you would go for residency. You know, seeing the excitement and joy on your faces was deeply gratifying as you learned where your next steps would lead. And from this day on, you can proudly bear the title of MD beside your name. As I look out at each one of you in the audience today, I see great hope for our future. You enter the medical field at a pivotal time in our history. You have a special responsibility to be leaders and to work to make healthcare more inclusive and accessible, and to speak up when your voice can make a difference. In other words, to lead. I know you have earned and learned the skills and have the heart to be transformative in our healthcare industry, and that you will serve the needs of those most in need. The Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine at UNLV has provided you a strong foundation of serving your community, and I challenge each of you to continue that service as you move from student to doctor. I'm completely confident that you will represent UNLV well. Congratulations, class of 2021. Enjoy today and celebrate your achievement. You have certainly earned it, and I could not be more proud. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's now my honor and privilege to welcome to the podium the Chair of the Board of Regents, Dr. Mark Dubrava. Regent Dubrava is a longtime Nevadan who graduated from Clark High School. Dr. Dubrava received his bachelor's degree from UNLV, and at the time wondered why there was not a medical school here in Las Vegas. Dr. Dubrava went on to attend the University of Nevada School of Medicine in Reno, where he obtained his doctorate of medicine. Regent Dubrava completed his training as an ophthalmologist in Louisiana before returning to Las Vegas, where he has cared for patients since 1997. Dr. Dubrava has been a steadfast supporter of the School of Medicine, and I'm very pleased that he's part of our celebration today. Dr. Dubrava.
Thank you, Dean Kahn. Class of 2021, I add my congratulations to each of you. Today, on behalf of the Board of Regents, I have a sense of great pride and joy today as I look out at the first class of graduates from the School of Medicine. Our university, our city, and state of Nevada have been waiting eagerly for this ceremonial day to arrive, and here we are. I am truly honored to be part of this event. Each of you receiving your medical doctorates later in the ceremony represent the realization of many years of hard work, planning, garnering the support and resources necessary to create your medical school. This year has seen the successful accreditation of the School of Medicine. I've also watched as the school has been a leader in our community to build testing sites for COVID-19 early in the pandemic, and then stand up vaccination sites to help our community heal and move on from this pandemic. I know this medical school has also supported the tireless work of individual faculty, physicians, and residents working long shifts, taking care of the sickest of our patients, while still finding time to teach each of you, the next generation of physicians. Today is a day to recognize the support and leadership of those who have made this medical school a reality. To each of those who have been a part of making this day a reality, I say thank you, and recognize without your work, this breakthrough of the start of an academic health center in our city would not have been possible. Today is also a day to look to the future. For each of you are the future of healthcare. Your achievement and hard work over the past 4 years demonstrates the important step forward we are making as a university system. As many of you will pursue residency education in other states, you now serve as ambassadors of UNLV and your medical school. As ambassadors, we are counting on you to help spread the word and demonstrate your medical knowledge and skills that you acquired at the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine at UNLV. I am sure you will make us all proud. We are also excited for those new physicians that matched into our local residency programs. Starting July 1, you will become resident teachers of your fellow UNLV 3rd and 4th year students. I also speak to you as a physician who has practiced medicine in Las Vegas for many years. I welcome you today to the profession of medicine. Together, we have a great privilege paired with a duty to help and to take care of those who are our patients. There will be days ahead when you don't know the answer, when you aren't sure of the right decision, or when the work you will do is just plain hard. In those moments, remember why you chose medicine in the first place. Remember those days during medical school when you had your the first delivery of a baby, the first time a patient made it through a tough surgery, the first time a patient said thank you, the first time a patient died. You define the type of physician you will become. Hold on to that and your reasons for choosing medicine. The Board of Regents and our state and city made one of the biggest bets we've ever made, and that is saying something in Las Vegas, when we decided to support and create a medical school at UNLV. Today, when I see you walk across the stage and receive your academic hood, it is obvious that that bet paid off. We hit the jackpot. Congratulations, class of 2021. I look forward to calling each of you doctor later today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dubrava. It's now my honor and privilege to introduce today's keynote speaker, virtually, Dr. David Skorton. Dr. Skorton is the president and CEO of the Association of American Medical Colleges. This is a professional association for all medical schools in the United States. Our students are familiar with the AAMC, their introduction being when they applied to medical school, and this has continued through their application to residency. Dr. Skorton took over as leader of the AAMC in 2019, and his leadership at the AAMC has been marked by significant contributions to the nation's pandemic response, and Dr. Skorton has importantly been an outspoken advocate for ending systemic racism in medicine and addressing health disparities. Prior to his position at the AAMC, Dr. Skorton served as the secretary of the Smithsonian Institution and president of two universities, Cornell and the University of Iowa. Dr. Skorton completed his medical education from Northwestern Feinberg School of Medicine and then completed training in cardiology at the University of California, Los Angeles. Dr. Skorton was unable to travel to be with us today due to the pandemic, but has graciously recorded his keynote address to the class of 2021.
Welcome, and my most sincere congratulations to the first class to graduate from the UNLV School of Medicine, and with an outstanding match rate too. Amazing and so admirable. You are trailblazers, and not just because you are the first class of UNLV graduates to receive your MD degrees. Many of you are also the first in your families to graduate college or medical school, a tremendous achievement for you, your families, and the future patients and communities who will benefit from your expertise and compassion. I'm glad that so many of your friends and loved ones could celebrate this moment with you. Today, we celebrate them as well for all their support over the last 4 years and long before. At the same time, you're filling an important need for the state of Nevada by choosing to go to school here, in the process, helping to create quality health care that the state needs. New medical schools are powerhouses of innovation, and you can be especially proud of your role in that innovation. Your path to this moment has been full of unpredictable surprises, challenges, and joys, just like the practice of medicine itself. Over 40 years ago, I was where you are too, and I can relate to how you might be feeling. The day I received my MD degree, I knew I was embarking on a career that I was deeply passionate about. I still tear up thinking about that day. Yet I also recall feeling terrified. Moving from being a medical student to mentoring the next class of medical students seemed daunting, especially when I learned that I was scheduled to be on call the very first night I reported for my residency. I encourage you to acknowledge any fears you may be feeling too, but also know you will encounter people wherever you look who can help you and teach you, not just your faculty physicians, but also nurses, other health professionals, and importantly, patients and their families. Be open-minded about where to look. Patients can teach us a lot. As a specialist in congenital heart disease in adolescents and adults, I once had a teenager in my practice who felt passionately about playing a sport that was important to him. But there were risks involved in exerting himself to the degree required by that sport. Athletics were a passion and a core part of his identity, and so I worked with him to find another sport that he could be equally passionate about that would not risk his health to the same degree. He ended up playing that sport all through high school and found it brought him great joy, and his medical condition was stable and he thrived. I cannot emphasize enough how we need to work with and learn from our patients and their families. Perhaps you had a vision of what your medical training would be like throughout the long time you've waited for this very moment. Then along came COVID-19, and before that, the Route 91 mass shooting here in Las Vegas several years ago. Over and over again, we learned that life is unpredictable, and so is medicine. Last year, COVID limited your ability to participate in direct patient care and away rotations, which I recognize was particularly challenging for you as the inaugural class. But you lived up to the values of your school, striving for excellence despite the odds. The same goes for your faculty, staff, and leaders who helped adjust your training so rapidly and successfully. They deserve a great deal of credit today, too. COVID also catapulted your career forward. Faced with unforeseen interruptions in your education, you've become battle-born, a phrase I know means quite a bit in the state of Nevada. In the practice, you've honed 3 skills that will be especially important for your future careers. 1, you've learned to focus on people, not just science and disease. When you could not provide direct care for patients, many of you figured out what else you could do, such as volunteering at a call center to set up appointments for COVID testing in your community. So as you compensated for what was lost in your education, you strengthened your skills in engaging with your community. That will serve you well throughout your career. 2, you've learned to recognize, accept, and learn from your own emotions and reactions. Certainly, March 2020 brought fear and uncertainty and no small amount of stress. You responded by supporting each other. And there likely will be other times in your career and life where you need help and support from each other. Please remember that medicine is a wonderful but demanding career, and it can be stressful. Your own health and well-being are paramount. Throughout your career, remember that it is not a sign of weakness to ask for help, but a sign of wisdom and strength. I faced some of those times and gained enormously by asking for and receiving help. And 3, you've already embraced that your learning process will never be stagnant. Just when you thought you were in the home stretch of your training, you learn new ways of doing things yet again. There's a concept from Zen Buddhism called the beginner's mind. As the monk Shunryu Suzuki said, in the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are few. I hope you never lose your beginner's mind. Always consider the broader possibilities when faced with a challenge, just as you've been doing. Your open-mindedness and flexibility are the antidote to what ails our nation, especially our health inequities. Collectively, generations like mine have failed to address many of the roots of the problem, particularly our longstanding history of systemic racism and poverty. We need to address that and treat patients as people in the process. As Harvard Medical School professor and author Dr. Jerome Groopman says, certainly the primary imperative of a physician is to be skilled in medical science, but if he or she does not probe a patient's soul, then the doctor's care is given without caring, and part of the sacred mission of healing is missing. He's right. And as you move on in your career, find every opportunity to engage with your patients, their families, and your community. Listen to them and address their fears, hopes, and dreams. Your own well-being matters too. Care for patients, yes, but also care for yourself and your peers. I also want to offer that the Association of American Medical Colleges is another resource for you throughout your medical career. So please lean on us as you go forward in your journey. We are here to help. I'm confident that you will continue to look out for each other as you already have, while truly changing the world. And that change is my charge for you today. You've been called the battle-born charter class of the UNLV School of Medicine. And as of today, may the class of 2021 also become the class of great change agents. There couldn't be a more urgent time for you to bring about great change. That may mean starting small, but small changes lead to bigger changes, and you're already doing that. The world needs your energy and insights. Now is your time to act. I want to thank you for taking on this charge. I believe that each of you, as I did, will discover that medicine is one of the most rewarding careers there is. People will come to you during their most vulnerable moments, and you will bear witness to their pain, sorrow, and joy. You have many years of rewarding work ahead of you. Congratulations again on all you have accomplished. You've earned this celebration today. Be proud. And congratulations to your support networks and everyone at the School of Medicine who helped make it possible to celebrate this milestone. It took all of you, right down to the student affairs team, who worked every angle to secure enough PPE when supplies were short. I'm in awe of how everyone came together. And I'm amazed at this class of graduates. I'm so honored to share this moment with all of you and to be witnessing the first class to graduate from the UNLV School of Medicine. Congratulations, class of 2021. Now go forth and be great change agents. Thank you.
That was a very inspiring speech from Dr. Scorton, and we thank him in absentia. I'm now going to ask President Keith Whitfield to join me at the podium where Dr. Whitfield will confer the degree of Doctor of Medicine to the graduates. Dr. Whitfield? Will the graduates for the degree Doctor of Medicine please rise? President Whitfield, having fulfilled all the necessary requirements, I have the honor to present to you these graduates for receipt of the Doctor of Medicine degree.
It is with utmost pride that I confer unto you the first graduating class of the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine at UNLV, the Doctor of Medicine degree. The degree signifies that you qualify to join the profession of medicine and that you accept the rights, privileges, and responsibilities of a physician. Congratulations, doctors. Please move your tassels from the left to the right. Thank you.
President Whitfield, I have one question. Is there a doctor in the house? Is there a doctor in the house? Congratulations, class of 2021. I'd now like to acknowledge Dr. Neil Haycox, Vice Dean for Academic Affairs, Dr. Gary Shen, Assistant Dean for Clinical Education, and Dr. Robert Hernandez, Associate Dean for Student Affairs and Admissions, who will present diplomas to our graduates. Department chairs are invited to move to the greeting line off stage. Dr. Whitfield and I will stand in center stage. We're going to ask the graduates to come left to right. Dr. Haycox and Dr. Shen, please take their positions as well.
Toyokazu Endo, who is being hooded by Masai Endo. Dr. Endo will be doing his residency in general surgery at the University of Louisville School of Medicine in Kentucky. Gregory Calfee, who will be hooded by Dr. Neil Haycox. Greg will be doing his residency in general surgery at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas School of Medicine. Dr. Lauren Hollifield. Dr. Hollifield is being hooded by Dr. Charlene Day. Dr. Hollifield will be doing her residency in anesthesiology at the Hospital of the University of Pennsylvania. Dr. Monica Arabalos. Dr. Arabalos is being hooded by Ms. Ann Diggins. She will be doing her residency in emergency medicine at Christus Health, Texas A&M. If I can refer your attention to the front of the stage. Dr. Zada Rosen, who will be hooded by Harriet Rosen. Dr. Rosen will be doing her residency in obstetrics and gynecology at University of Massachusetts Medical School. Dr. Diane Han. Dr. Han is being hooded by Hua Han. Dr. Han will be doing her residency in emergency medicine at Stanford University in California. Dr. Allison Aldrich. Dr. Aldrich is being hooded by Thomas Aldrich. Dr. Aldrich will be doing her residency in psychiatry at the University of Maryland Medical Center. Dr. Michael Besson. Dr. Besson is being hooded by Dr. Sarah Y. Besson. Dr. Besson will be doing his residency in internal medicine at Tufts Medical Center in Massachusetts. Dr. Fawn Boder. Dr. Boder is being hooded by Coletta Mattern. Dr. Boder will be doing her residency in psychiatry at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas School of Medicine. Dr. Michael Briones. Dr. Briones is being hooded by Dr. Mon Briones. Dr. Briones will be doing his residency in anesthesiology at Oregon Health and Science University. Dr. Doris Chan. Dr. Chan is being hooded by Mei Lun Chu. Dr. Chan will be doing her residency in internal medicine at the University of California, Irvine Medical Center. Dr. Ginger Christian. Dr. Christian is being hooded by Susan Christian. Dr. Christian will be doing her residency in obstetrics and gynecology at University of Nevada, Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine, UNLV. Dr. Corey Colombini. Dr. Colombini is being hooded by Karen Colombini. Dr. Colombini will be doing his residency in plastic surgery at the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine, UNLV. Dr. Christina Cordes. Dr. Cordes is being hooded by Dr. Amanda Cordes. Dr. Cordes will be doing her residency in family medicine at Padre Valley Hospital in Colorado. Dr. Shilpa Delat. Dr. Delat is being hooded by Rishi Delat. Dr. Delat will be doing her residency in internal medicine at Rush University Medical Center in Illinois. Dr. Brian Davis. Dr. Davis is being hooded by Dr. Stephen Davis. Dr. Davis will be completing his residency in psychiatry at the University of Connecticut School of Medicine. Dr. Crystal Dixon. Dr. Dixon is being hooded by Mary Dixon. Dr. Dixon will be completing her residency in pediatrics at Children's Hospital in Oakland, California. Dr. William Fang. Dr. Fang is being hooded by Mao Fang. Dr. Fang will be completing his residency in family medicine at Keck Medicine of University of Southern California. Dr. William Gravely. Dr. Gravely is being hooded by Dr. Michelle Gravely. Dr. Gravely will be performing his residency in pediatrics at Children's Hospital, Oakland, California. Dr. Sarah Grimley. Dr. Grimley is being hooded by Dr. Gary P. Moreau. Dr. Grimley will be completing her residency in family medicine at Sutter Med Center of Santa Rosa, California. Dr. Horacio Guerra. Dr. Guerra is being hooded by Lena Trong. Dr. Guerra will be completing his residency in family medicine at the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine, UNLV. Dr. Emily Guillot. Dr. Guillot is being hooded by Dr. Frederick C. Harris, Jr. Dr. Guillot will be completing her residency in internal medicine at Case Western Metro Health Medical Center in Ohio. Dr. Anita Albanese. Dr. Albanese will be hooded by Irene Albanese. Dr. Albanese will be completing her residency in family medicine at the University of Utah Health. Dr. Jenny Hong. Dr. Hong is being hooded by Dr. Annie Hong. Dr. Hong will be completing her residency in internal medicine at Harbor, University of California, Los Angeles Medical Center. Dr. Hadley Johnson. Dr. Johnson is being hooded by Dr. Angela Weiner. Dr. Johnson will be completing her residency in psychiatry at the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine, UNLV. Dr. Danielle Jones. Dr. Jones is being hooded by Dr. Samuel Parrish. Dr. Jones will be completing her residency in pediatrics at Valley Children's Healthcare, California. Dr. Rachel Kelly. Dr. Kelly is being hooded by Dr. David E. Slattery. Dr. Kelly will be completing her residency in emergency medicine at Stony Brook Teaching Hospital, New York. Dr. Kalina Longworth. Dr. Longworth is being hooded by Cicely Villalobos. Dr. Longworth will be completing her residency in family medicine at Utah Healthcare Institute, St. Mark's. Dr. Alex Ma. Dr. Ma is being hooded by Amy Chu. Dr. Ma will be completing residency in family medicine at Valley Health System, Nevada. Dr. Marwa Mekki. Dr. Mekki is being hooded by Kareem Mekki. Dr. Mecki will be completing her residency in internal medicine at Case Western University Hospitals, Cleveland Medical Center, Ohio. Dr. Sierra Mastrantonio. Dr. Mastrantonio is being hooded by Adam Mastrantonio. Dr. Mastrantonio will be completing her residency in anesthesiology at the University of Utah Health. Dr. Eric McClintock. Dr. McClintock is being hooded by Dr. Paul McClintock. Dr. McClintock will be completing his residency in internal medicine at the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine, UNLV. Dr. Damian Medrano. Dr. Medrano is being hooded by Dr. Rodney Hollifield. Dr. Medrano will be completing his residency in radiology at the Hospital of the University of Pennsylvania. Dr. James Miller. Dr. Miller is being hooded by Dr. Kevin Miller. Dr. Miller will be completing his residency in psychiatry at St. Elizabeth's Hospital, Department of Behavioral Health. Dr. Jordan Miller. Dr. Miller is being hooded by Christina Miller. Dr. Miller will be completing his residency in orthopedic surgery at the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine at UNLV. Dr. Ababa Muraga. Dr. Muraga is being hooded by T.G. Yilma. Dr. Muraga will be completing his residency in internal medicine at the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine at UNLV. Dr. Sabrina Novensky. Dr. Novensky is being hooded by Dan Novensky. Dr. Novensky will be completing her residency in family medicine at the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine at UNLV. Dr. Diana Pena. Dr. Pena is being hooded by Hector Pena. Dr. Pena will be completing her residency in pediatrics at Stanford University, California. Dr. Austin Pomerantz. Dr. Pomerantz is being hooded by Madison Pomerantz. Dr. Pomerantz will be completing his residency training in pediatrics at the University of Arizona College of Medicine, Tucson. Dr. Ashley Prandecki. Dr. Prandecki is being hooded by Rick Newell. Dr. Prandecki will be completing her residency in internal medicine at the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine at UNLV. Dr. John Rovig. Dr. Rovig is being hooded by Caitlin Kelly Rovig. Dr. Rovig will be completing his residency in internal medicine at the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine at UNLV. Dr. Manisha Sakuja. Dr. Sakuja is being hooded by Dr. Barbara Atkinson. Dr. Sakuja will be completing her residency in pediatrics at Johns Hopkins Hospital, Maryland. Dr. Cameron Sarabi. Dr. Sarabi is being hooded by Linnea Sarabi. Dr. Sarabi will be completing his residency in neurology at the University of Maryland Medical Center. Dr. Moran Shaker. Dr. Shaker is being hooded by Dr. Dale Carrison. Dr. Shaker will be completing his residency in emergency medicine at Baylor College of Medicine in Houston, Texas. Dr. Colby Shreve. Dr. Shreve is being hooded by Dr. Howard Tischler. Dr. Shreve will be completing his residency in radiology at Yale New Haven Hospital in Connecticut. Dr. Chase Shropshire. Dr. Shropshire is being hooded by Rhonda Van Winkle. Dr. Shropshire will be completing his residency in radiology at Sunrise Health Graduate Medical Education Consortium in Nevada. Dr. Johnny Woodson. Dr. Woodson is being hooded by Dr. Johnny Maurice Woodson, Jr. Dr. Woodson will be completing his residency in physical medicine and rehabilitation at the University of New Mexico School of Medicine. Dr. Lennon Zimmerman. Dr. Zimmerman is being hooded by Dr. Karen Zimmerman. Dr. Zimmerman will be completing residency in radiology at University of Utah Health. Dr. Erin Walsh. Dr. Walsh is being hooded by Dr. Larry Walsh. Dr. Walsh will be completing her residency in family medicine at Boston University Medical Center in Massachusetts.
If I could have a round of applause for the graduates of the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine at UNLV, class of 2021, the inaugural class. Congratulations, doctors. I'd now like to ask Dr. Johann Bester, Interim Assistant Dean for Biomedical Science Education and Director of Bioethics, to come forward and lead the graduates in taking the physician's oath. Dr. Bester?
Colleagues, when you take the oath, you commit yourself to the moral values and the professional obligations that are central to the practice of medicine and to a lifetime of service in service of humanity. 4 years ago, we asked you to rise and to take the oath in front of your faculty and your family and your friends. And now we'll ask you to turn and face the communities that you will serve as you commit yourself publicly to these values and to these obligations. Those of you in the audience who are physicians who want to recommit yourself and who want to take the oath with us are welcome to do so. You'll find the oath in the program. And I ask that you rise now and take the oath with me. So, we're going to do this physician's oath as follows. I will do a sentence, and then I'll give you an opportunity to read it back to me. When we get to paragraph 6, you'll see it's a little bit long. So we'll take that one sentence by sentence. Listen carefully. Please recite after me. Yeah. Can you turn and face your families and the communities you're going to serve? There we go. Right. Graduates, please recite after me. I swear to fulfill to the best of my ability and judgment this covenant. I will respect the hard-won scientific gains of those physicians in whose steps I walk, and gladly share such knowledge as is mine with those who are to follow. I will apply for the benefit of the sick all measures that are required, avoiding those twin traps of overtreatment and therapeutic nihilism. I will remember that there is art to medicine as well as science, and that warmth, sympathy, and understanding may outweigh the surgeon's knife or the chemist's drug. I will not be ashamed to say, I know not, nor will I fail to call in my colleagues when the skills of another are needed for a patient's recovery. I will respect the privacy of my patients, for their problems are not disclosed to me that the world may know. Most especially must I tread with care in matters of life and death. If it is given to me to save a life, all thanks, but it may also be within my power to take a life. This awesome responsibility must be faced with great humbleness and awareness of my own frailty. Above all, I must not play at God. I will remember that I do not treat a fever chart, a cancerous growth, but a sick human being whose illness may affect the person's family and economic stability. My responsibility includes these related problems if I am to care adequately for the sick. I will prevent disease whenever I can, for prevention is preferable to cure. I will remember that I remain a member of society with special obligations to all my fellow human beings, those sound of mind and body, as well as the infirm. If I do not violate this oath, may I enjoy life and art, respected while I live and remembered with affection thereafter. May I always act so as to preserve the finest traditions of my calling. And may I long experience the joy of healing those who seek my help. Welcome to the profession.
Thank you, Dr. Bester. Graduates can take their seats. I will now ask Dr. Barbara Atkinson, founding dean of the School of Medicine and current dean emeritus, to join me at the center podium. So Dr. Atkinson was appointed planning dean and then founding dean for the School of Medicine in 2014. In that role, she created the vision and education program for the school, building strong regional and legislative support and hiring a core team of academic faculty and staff. Working with her team and the assembled Community Advisory Board, she led the effort to align the school's mission with the healthcare needs of the community and region. Dr. Atkinson led the effort to raise $13.5 million in less than 60 days to fund scholarships for future medical students, including the entirety of this charter class of physicians here today. Dr. Atkinson has served in multiple leadership roles, state, national, and even international levels, before bringing her vision and leadership to UNLV. She's the only woman to lead 3 medical schools in the U.S., and we continue to benefit from her visionary leadership in her role as Dean Emeritus. And interestingly, Dr. Atkinson taught me pathology as a young first-year student at the University of Pennsylvania, and for that, I thank her. I'd now like to hear a round of applause for Dr. Atkinson.
Thank you, Dean Kahn. And thank you, class of 2021. Oh, that's amazing. Thank you. Thank you all so much. This is an amazing and joyous day. It's one that you always dream for, and then it comes. But it's been a hard, long work for you all to get where you are, and I'm so glad to be here to celebrate it with you today. I just want to congratulate you on all your achievements that have gotten you this far, and it's just so wonderful to have watched you get your diplomas, walk across the stage, be hooded, and begin the next stages of your career. I've listened to all the other speakers today, watched your match day celebration, learned where each of you are going, what you're going to do next. I had high hopes of you as students coming in, and now I have even higher hopes of you as physicians leaving. So congratulations on that, and we're all looking forward to where you're going to go in your next milestones. Your first day of medical school was the culmination of work that began in May of 2014 for me, but it was not until 7/17/17 that you actually began. It was like letting fresh air into our plans as our plans became fulfilled. You were asked to be pioneers, and you helped launch the school, and you really were pioneers in many, many, many ways. You reflected the character of UNLV and the challenges of the state of Nevada, and for that we all give our thanks for you accepting us and for us accepting you in this moment. The school was founded with plans to use problem-based learning, virtual anatomy, and a longitudinal model for clinical rotations, and was really not any of those programs unique, but it was the first time they were put together in the same kind of way. But we also put into practice the fact that we would have public health, bioethics, and wellness in the whole curriculum for the whole 4 years. The goal of the leadership team here was to build a curriculum that was to prepare you not for the past 50 years, which many medical schools had been doing, but for the next 50 years. So here you are, and we're expecting you to take leadership in those next 50 years that you'll be practicing. I know this curriculum has meant that you spent many long hours working hard. You might have rather been doing other things, but it will pay off in the long run. And we're just anxious to see you take the next steps in the specialties of your choice. Medical school is challenging, wonderful, and terrifying at the same time. It always has been for every graduating class. But on top of all that, the usual challenges, this class of 2021 had pandemic hit, and the world changed last March. Your world's changed, the world of medicine that each of you is entering changed, and you are beginning to lead the future change, and we see you as the real future of medicine, and so we're expecting great things of you and know that you'll achieve that. You started medical school in a climate of uncertainty. Would we have funding? Would we have a building? Would we be able to provide each of you with an educational opportunity that would allow the school to achieve full accreditation? The answer was, to all of those questions, a resounding yes. Your hard work was part of it. Alongside that, with all the faculty and leadership, and we now have a school that will be successful for many, many, many years to come. And so I remain grateful for your commitment, enthusiasm, and dedication. When I was dean, or now Dean Emerita, I have watched 14 classes of medical students graduate as new doctors. 3 years in Philadelphia, 10 years at the University of Kansas, and now the first class at UNLV. You are the best and definitely my favorite, as I said many, many times to you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to especially thank you, your class, for the gift that you gave me for the class picture taken about 3 weeks ago with a My Dean t-shirt. Those of us that remember the day at the Regents meeting when the My Dean t-shirts came to visit. So it was a real pleasure. It brought tears to my eyes to see the picture of all of you with those t-shirts. I would like to thank everyone who helped build this school and helped to bring all of these efforts to fruition. It was you, the students, it was faculty, leadership, community, donors, and the whole community that really brought it all together. It couldn't have been done without everyone. I also want to especially thank my husband, Dr. Bill Atkinson, who married me nearly, I hate to say it, 57 years ago, and has been part of everything I've done since. He's been especially supportive during these last 7 years at UNLV. So with much thanks and happiness, I congratulate you, the class of 2021 of the Kirk Kerkorian UNLV School of Medicine. Welcome to our newest positions, and especially to you who hold our future in your hands. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Dr. Atkinson, for your inspirational words. Let's hear it again for Dr. Atkinson. Don't go anywhere. In honor of Dr. Atkinson's service and contributions to the development of the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine at UNLV, the school has created the Dr. Barbara Atkinson Service and Leadership Award. This award recognizes a graduating senior who demonstrated outstanding community service and leadership throughout their matriculation. This award was made possible through a generous donation by Deborah and Gary Ackerman. This year's award recipient is a very special young woman. And I should mention, this is the only award that we give at graduation. This special award recipient is Dr. Lauren Hollifield. Dr. Hollifield, please join Dr. Atkinson and myself on stage to receive your award. Yeah. While she's coming up, I'm going to embarrass her a little bit. Dr. Hollifield is a student who has earned the respect of both her peers and her faculty, as well as senior leaders of the school. Her contributions to the school and community are significant and numerous. Her leadership has included representing her class as a speaker for the class of 2022 White Coat Ceremony, and her service on the admissions committee. She was a founding member of the school's Student National Medical Association for African American medical students. Most recently, Dr. Hollifield was observed giving a COVID vaccine under the watchful eye of Vice President Kamala Harris. Her service has included working with African American churches to improve health for community members in the program Body and Soul. Lauren, through all of her public notoriety and recognition, has remained grateful for the opportunity to attend UNLV tuition-free and all the opportunities afforded her over the past 4 years. Students like Lauren's influence will be felt by all the subsequent classes of medical students, and her faculty remain grateful for Lauren's significant contributions to the building of the School of Medicine's culture and tradition. Dr. Hollifield, please join Dr. Atkinson and I at this podium to receive your award. Congratulations, Dr. Hollifield. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you today's student speaker. A lot of these talks may be for the students, they're for parents, but typically the student address is for his or her classmates. Dr. Chris Endo, who we all know, serves as a senior class president and was selected by his class to speak on behalf of the students. Chris has the distinction of serving as class president each of the 4 years of medical school. It is a testament to his outstanding leadership and his class's confidence in him that his peers have continued to look to him for leadership. Chris's involvement in leadership throughout the past 4 years have been critical to the building of the school, and are achieving full accreditation by the LCME. And for that, we all thank him. I look forward to following Chris's accomplishments as he pursues his career in surgery. Dr. Endo, I now welcome you to the podium.
Thank you, Dean Kahn, for the warm introduction. It is a weird feeling when someone calls me a doctor and I don't have to correct them that I'm still a student. I had the pleasure of serving as a class president for all 4 years, and when my classmates elected me this year, I was a little puzzled how it happened, since they elected someone with terrible fear of public speaking. Yet, here I am today. This day marks an incredible achievement and a tremendous milestone for our city and our class. No one can deny medical school has been hard. We are balancing studying our clinical duties, extracurriculars, family, and friends. And by now, I'm sure all of you have heard of us say, "Oh no, I can't make it tonight, I have to study." And for our class, well, we have the added benefit of going to a brand new medical school. I heard many physicians describe their medical experience as traumatic. However, we had a special power, and we brought that power out every time we had to go over some hurdles. For example, sitting in the long lectures all day long at the 8th hour mark, despite how great the lecturers were or how the speakers were, there was those days where we whipped up the special power and whispered, "Free tuition, free tuition, free tuition." When our clinical schedules were changed week to week, no problem, free tuition. When we were losing sleep despite setting up clubs, organizations, and our school tradition, not a worry in the world because free tuition. All the joking aside, we are eternally grateful to be part of this brand new medical school and to leave our legacy for future classes. When I heard that UNLV was building a medical school, I thought to myself, finally. It was an honor to be part of the inaugural class, and I witnessed firsthand that this will be a start to establish a true medical community here at home. Going forward, the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine at UNLV will be at the forefront of delivering excellent care to the people of this town. Our class will be the first of many students to be part of that team. Because of Dr. Atkinson's vision and leadership, the generous donors, and the community leaders, and our faculty, we graduate from accredited medical school tuition-free. I would describe our experience as a shared trauma with awesome people. Our school did an incredible job selecting the first class, and I cannot overstate how much I love our class and how proud I am of us all. There are countless memories I can share from my medical school experience, from finishing the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones together, playing spike ball at leisurely competition on the lawn at Shadow Lane, or playing video games between lectures. And it was during these times that I realized how intensely competitive medical students are. And during clinicals, we learned how to scrub in during an operation, and we whispered to each other, "What do we do with our hands?" We're silently thinking to ourselves, "What am I supposed to study?" And I'll never forget how our class has stepped up to honor and support those that have served during the October 1st shooting, setting up a blood drive, dropping off food and snacks to those that served during the worst shooting in the country have ever witnessed. And during the pandemic, because of one of our classmates, we increased the efforts on COVID screening. And as a class, we administered COVID vaccine to the people of our community. Then match day, we surpassed everyone's expectations. We are taking the UNLV name all across the country. And as a class, there is no doubt that we sacrificed a great deal to finally call ourselves doctors. Graduation isn't just about our achievements, but an achievement that has to be shared with every single one of you sitting with us today or watching online. Today, I would like to share a brief story about sacrifice. During one of my residency interview day, I was asked, "So tell me, who is Toyokazu Endo?" To this day, I'm thankful that the interview was virtual. If it was in person, they would have seen my forehead all sweaty, like now, and vividly see the puzzled look on my face. Who is Toyokazu Endo? Who am I? Even the greatest philosophers have debated their own existence since the dawn of humanity, and I was supposed to come up with an answer now? But I took a moment to reflect on my life and how I ended up in front of the interview. My response was, Toyokazu Endo is a product of sacrifice. This answer generated a puzzled look in return, and I explained further. Everything that I have and everything I have accomplished and everything our class have accomplished is because of the countless sacrifice that people have made. I'm dedicating this speech to my grandmother, who has demonstrated what it means to sacrifice. My grandmother was born in Northern Korea before Korea split into two. During the war, she lost the majority of her family, and with her sister was captured by the North Korean army to be used at their discretion. With every courage and strength, she escaped and found a new life down in South Korea. Living in post-war Korea, she managed to have 3 daughters and do her best in a war-torn country. When the opportunity to immigrate to the United States came, she packed nothing but her suitcase, her youngest daughter, and started her new life here in Las Vegas. She worked as a maid at a Riviera hotel and provided for her family, and she never bought anything for herself. When my mother was deported from the country, she took me in as her own son and raised me until I went to college. Though far from her home country, she established a new home here in Vegas. Her last dying wish was to see her grandson graduate from medical school, to be able to call me Dr. Endo. But she passed away 5 months short of his day. She sacrificed and dedicated her entire life to her family and for myself, and she died as my role model. Wherever she is today, I am confident that she knows. And trust me, she knows. Keeping a secret from her was never my strong suit. If it were not for my grandmother, I would have never called Las Vegas my home. The term sacrifice has been used in many contexts over the years. But today, I would like to introduce you to a quote. Sometimes when you sacrifice something precious, you're not really losing it. You're just passing it on to someone else. We have seen the countless sacrifices that we, our family, our friends, our faculty, and the community members have made sure to ensure that we graduate today as doctors. We must never forget the sacrifice of those that have laid before us. Those sacrifices that they have made and that we have made to get us here. We hold these precious gifts so that they could be passed on. Sacrifice, in my humble opinion, is a gesture of humility, and we sacrifice because we love. Whether that is to our family members, our community, science, and for our patients. To the class of 2021, and to the rest of those gathered with us today, I urge you all to continue sacrificing. Take the extra mile to sit down with your patients. Take a moment out of your busy day to thank your loved ones. In the world that we live in, sacrificing is the only way for us to keep loving and to pass it on. Again, to class of 2021, congratulations. We have overcome every hurdle imaginable and surpassed everyone's expectations. We are making history today and will continue to leave our legacy wherever we go. Continue sacrificing, continue be daring, and continue being a rebel. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Endo, for your inspirational remarks. Let's hear some more applause for Dr. Endo. It is now my honor and privilege to invite Dr. Samuel Parrish to join me at the podium. Dr. Parrish, Dr. Hernandez, and I go back to 2000, 2001, when the three of us were new student affairs deans and met at Association of American Medical College meetings. So it's almost like we're three friends who are able to meet again on the same stage. Dr. Parrish served as the founding Senior Associate Dean for Student Affairs and Admissions at the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine at UNLV. Again, as I mentioned, I've known Dr. Parrish in my previous roles for the past 20 years. I call him a friend, and I was really pleased to join him here at UNLV and to have him initially as part of my leadership team. Dr. Parrish retired from his role in December, but he's joined us today to help send off our charter class and the students he worked with from their applications to medical school through the majority of their medical education here at the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine. Dr. Parrish is a pediatrician by training, specializing in adolescent medicine, which is actually an excellent background for his previous occupation. Dr. Parrish was selected by the graduating class to deliver words of wisdom. I'd now like to call my friend Sam Parrish forward for some concluding thoughts. Sam.
I know I'm what's standing between you and celebrating with your family, so I will be brief. When I was told that I had been asked to be part of this commencement ceremony, I was really surprised. I was also humbled, but secretly, deep down inside, I was tickled that I'd get the last word. If you remember most of my class meetings with you guys, I reminded you that the admissions committee had agonized over each and every seat that we had to fill, and that every one of you had been selected because you were talented, capable, and dedicated, but that you also reflected our hopes and dreams for this medical school and community. Yesterday, at the reception or at the dinner, I was talking to a bunch of you guys, and we all had the same comment, which was, didn't this go by very quickly? I can recall the morning of July 17th, 2017, like it was yesterday. Ann Diggins and I were pacing back and forth in the Shadow Lane lobby, just praying that all of you would show up to help launch this medical school. And the first student to arrive, as always, was Austin. The rest of you followed in rapid succession. You were early, you were rowdy, you were loud, and you were excited. But you quickly settled into what would become chaos, and you took your places and you assumed your roles. The majority of you did not change seats in the 306 classroom during your entire time in school. As the first class, you had to navigate this path without more senior students to guide you. You needed to find your way quickly, and you did. You were quick to tackle the work. You were quick to see what was important about what you were learning, and oh yeah, you were quick to give us feedback on what you liked and what you didn't. Quick was the operative word, and you have been quick throughout your time in medical school. You quickly established organizations, jumped into community service projects, research, and you quickly developed a personality that has characterized your class, this school, and this university. You quickly recognized the roles that you can play in the lives of your patients and also in this community. And you quickly made a transition from the classroom to clinical settings where you demonstrated a willingness to learn and grow, and you have continued to gain knowledge and skill. You've learned how to learn, and all of this has happened very quickly. So for words of wisdom, as I was thinking about what I wanted to say with you this afternoon, I could only come up with two words to say. Slow down. Yes, the practice of medicine changes very quickly. Knowledge expands exponentially, but some things never change and never will. The commitment, care, and compassion that you show your patients and their families does not and will not change. So slow down. In the excitement of today, please take a moment to reflect on what you have done, how you have grown, and appreciate the fact that you would not have gotten this far without the commitment of the faculty and the staff who'd worked with you throughout the last 4 years. You would also not have gotten here without the support and love of your partners, families, parents, and friends who always had your back and who believed in you when you didn't. So slow down. Take a deep breath. Say thanks to each and every one of them. Your residencies will pass quickly. You will learn more than you can ever imagine. Our hopes are for each of you that not only do you have productive and enjoyable careers in medicine, more importantly, have a wonderful life. Take care of yourself. For the last time, I've got the opportunity to say that we truly love you, we want only the best, and I'll remind you, the admissions committee did a marvelous job. You weren't the first class, you're first class. So our wish for you is Godspeed and goodbye.
Thank you, Dr. Parrish, for those words. Well, this is getting to the end of the ceremony, and I would just want to say just a few things. A few words of advice. It's what we do at graduations. I want the Kirk Kerkorian class of 2021 to be good. Be good to your profession, be good to your families. I want you to be good at what you do. I want you to take care of each other. I want you to take care of yourselves. I want you to remember us at UNLV and remember this community. I want you to give back to your communities. I look forward to someday when I'm reading a journal or a newspaper and I say, boy, I knew him or her when. That's what we expect from the Kirk Kerkorian School of Medicine class of 2021. And with that, I wish you good luck and I wish you Godspeed. And I ask once again, is there a doctor in the house? Is there a doctor in the house? I'd now like to ask everyone to stand for the Alma Mater, which can be found in the back of the commencement program. After the Alma Mater, please remain standing during the recessional. I'd now like to turn it over to Gary Fowler and the UNLV Jazz Ensemble to perform our Alma Mater.
Make some noise for everybody that's